Hey everybody, welcome back in. My name's Matt, Cryptic if you prefer, and today we're going to talk about another video that was actually pretty heavily requested in the community. So if you watch my shorts or my reels or whatever, you would have seen the tank video. And in that video, there is a segment where I build the tank tread. And so a lot of people had questions on how I did that, like how I got that to just kind of run around the curve and not distort. So that's what we're going to go over in this video using a tool called Mesh. Mesh is built into Maya. It is a motion graphics platform. It's really powerful for what it does, and it's also really good for kind of a non-traditional modeling tool. So if you haven't yet, please like and subscribe and join the community because it's a great place to be. There's tons of new content coming. And if you want to take it the extra mile, you can either join as a subscriber or you can support me on Patreon, where you get free models every month and you'll have access to some of our exclusive tutorial series, as well as getting a video producer credit at the end of all my videos. But with all that out of the way, let's go ahead and jump into the video. Okay, so we're in Maya. What we're gonna do is we're going to build out our tank tread. So you can see here we already have our tread pieces in line, kind of built out. The way I modeled this, if you think about a tank tread, it's just a bunch of links that link together. So you want to model this in a way that makes sense. So if I duplicate this, no matter which way I duplicate this, it still links together and forms a connected chain. So the first thing we need to do is we need to make this a single object. If you try to do this, if you try to use this system with like a split object like this, it's just not going to work. It's going to cause chaos. It's going to fail. So what we're going to do is, with everything selected, we're going to go to Mesh and Combine. Going to make one solid piece. If you had any naming conventions, they're gone now. I'm sorry. I'll show you how to fix them at the end. But we have our one piece. This is going to be really important for making this work. The next thing we're going to need is we're going to need a curve. And so I built out this really simple tank tread curve. Use whatever you'd like, make your own. If you need to make a curve, it's just up here and then you just draw it out. But we'll go back to our poly modeling. Okay, so we need to create a mesh system. So how do we do that? First thing first, make sure that all of your transforms are completely zeroed out. You want to make sure everything's frozen and locked in place. The other thing you want to make sure is that you're centered. So that kind of screwed me up right there. So I'm going to go ahead and snap this back to center, which is fine. It doesn't need to be like below center. In fact, on the tank tread is kind of preferable because you can see how it's falling. But just make sure everything's kind of centered and good to go. All right, so we're going to select this guy. We're going to go to our Mesh tab. If you are missing this tab, you can go up to Windows, Settings and Preferences, Plugin Manager. In here, just search Mesh. You'll see mesh.mll. Make sure you auto-load those. All right, so we're going to go ahead and click Mesh. And that's going to create our initial mesh system. You'll see how it duplicates across. It just duplicates by 10. And so now we need to work with this. So we're going to open up our attribute editor over here. And we're going to go to Mesh 1. This is where we're going to add our curve node. So you can see curve node right here. Go add curve node. And then you'll have to go over and click it. So you'll see that we have this weird blank space that has like no instruction on what to do with it. You're gonna middle mouse click the curve in your outliner and then just drag it over. That's gonna link it up. You'll see how things kind of shifted a little bit. And if you play your animation, you can see how it kind of follows the curve in a really horrible way. Okay, so everything's linked together. It's working. What do we got to do now? So we need to go to Mesh Distribute. And in here, we only have to change a few options. So distribution type, we're going to change to initial state. This is going to start the mesh at the beginning of the curve. So wherever you started your curve, all the way to the end of the curve. And once again, you can see if you play it, now it follows the curve in a much more kind of like realistic movement. We're going to go back to the curve. We're going to take our step and launch it all the way to 1. 1 is basically going to end the mesh sim at the end point of the curve. And you can see if you play it, it looks like a tank tread for the most part. Okay, so we don't have enough links here to get this to work properly. So we need to go back to our Mesh Distribute, and then we're going to increase this. You can see as we increase this, things just kind of start closing back up together. I know for this one, I think I need like 38 of them. And this will run a little slow, especially if you're working with like a high poly tank tread kind of like this. And we're good to go. I like the gap that I've got there, and you'll notice that we have a little bit of a bigger gap here. That's because that's where the end of our curve is. So if we select our curve, go to Control Vertex, we can actually just select that final, and we can just slightly shift it back. I think, let's see. Yeah, I went a little, oh, that's why. Make sure you turn off your snapping. So we'll just close that up. And that should close that up just fine. Yep, we're good. Okay, so there's your tank tread. That's how you use mesh to kind of distribute everything. So how do we finalize this? Well, there are definitely ways that you can rig this up to be like super accurate with mesh. Since we're just using this for modeling purposes, I generally don't care to do that because this takes care of 90% of the workload. So what we're gonna do is go back to object mode. We're gonna select everything, go back to poly modeling, freeze, and just knock everything out. And then from here, I'm going to select our curve, delete the curve, go to mesh, delete the mesh, and then we have just the mesh left. So with the mesh left, what we're going to do is we're going to go mesh, separate. It's going to break it all back into the original pieces that you had before. And once it's broken apart, we can do the minor adjustments we need to do. So this is generally what I'll do. Let me use selected. I'm just going to go back in here because I know exactly what I need to change. I know where everything's broken. You can select everything and just center your pivots. So this guy can rotate up a little bit. I'll just kind of place that, and then I'm going to rotate this guy so it just links back up. And this is kind of, again, something that you're going to just have to toy with a little bit. You may have to change a couple of links. But generally, it's really quick to just go ahead and fix this and get it all centered and fixed up again. So you can see how we just adjusted that and cleaned that up, and that looks just fine. The other thing is this front one. I don't think any of the other ones are messed up, and we're good there. So this front one just needs to rotate a little bit, it seems. Yep. And that's all linked up. So that's it. That's how you build your tank tread. So Mesh is really cool because since it's a motion graphics platform, it kind of handles just following curves and flow and stuff like that. So it's really good for building things like chains and tanks. It doesn't distort your mesh like the curve warp deformer will. This is a really good way to work with hard surface assets that need to stay as one piece and need to actually work together in like a very solid way instead of being warped and deformed around a curve. So the last thing we'll do is, if you had a naming convention and now you're all sad because you have to rename everything, you really don't. It's really easy. What we can do is we can just select our whole tank tread. And I know this is like the inner one. There's a little arrow box up here. Sometimes it's expanded, sometimes it's not, but it'll pop up in this little thing. And usually it just shows the object name. If you click this, you have a couple different settings in here, but we can just use the rename, and we'll just do tread inner space, and it'll rename everything. So if you go in here, you can see how all of the ones that we have selected have now been renamed. So that's a really quick and fast way to just rename everything if you have to do it really quickly. But with that said, that is the end of this video. I hope that helped you. I hope you learned something, and if you're working on a tank, hopefully this helps you build your tank. If you guys have questions, as always, leave them in the comments, and if you haven't yet, please like and subscribe, join the community. There's a lot of learning going on here. We have a Discord if you are interested as well. And with all that out of the way, I will see you all in the next video.